interesting topic. Very interesting topic of discussion, that is economics of smallholder farms, evolutionary mechanization. And we have a very very brilliant line of speakers. So first, as our main speaker or the presenter, we have Dr. AKM Abdullah Al Amin, who is Associate Professor at Bangladesh Agricultural University. And as our discussant, we have Dr. Nahid Sattar, who is professor at Bangladesh Agricultural University. And today's session is going to be moderated by Mr. Jahid Ibn Jalal, who is the deputy director at Rapid. So without further ado, now I would like to hand it over to Jahid sir to moderate the session. And once again, thank you everyone for joining. And if you have any questions, please ask them after the speakers are done with their presentation. You may also write it in the comments section, or you could, after the speakers are done with the presentation, you could also unmute yourselves and then ask the questions. Thank you so much for joining. Once again, over to you, Jahid sir.
Thank you so much, Zara. And first of all, welcome everybody. Today is actually in every month we do this kind of webinar where we actually invite young economists, and we actually try to start some kind of discussion among the young economists, and we believe that this is an opportunity for the growing economists who are actually working different kind of think tanks in Bangladesh. So this will be so helpful, and thank you so much for joining with us today. And I would like to thank our today's discussant, Dr. Mohammad Nahid Sattar sir, who is a professor of Bangladesh Agricultural University, and he is a very renowned economist in agricultural economics field. And we have with us Dr. AKM Abdullah Al Alamin, who is an associate professor of Bangladesh Agricultural University. And today's topic is economics of smallholder farms, evolutionary mechanization. And we believe that from this presentation, we'll get something new because from my expectation, there are a lot of things happening in agriculture in terms of mechanization, or we can say precision agriculture or smart farming. So I hope today in today's event, there are many young economists, researchers who joined from different think tanks. So they will get a good opportunity to know that what is going on actually in Bangladesh. So I hope this presentation will be regarding Bangladeshi smallholder farms. So from that perspective, I would say that this would be a really nice discussion. So I want to directly go to our presenter, Dr. AKM Abdullah Alamin. So just to let you know that you will get around 20 to 30 minutes to present your presentation. After that, we'll go to our discussant to discuss on your presentation. And after that, we'll open our floor to the audience. So, Dr. Alamin, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Jahid Ibn Jalal. Let me share my screen first. So I send a request. I think it needs some sort of approval. Yeah.
Sir, you may share the screen now. Yes, sir, your screen is visible.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Here I'm presenting our research work, actually, piles of research work. I'm sharing the initial findings here, entitled the research work I'm presenting here, entitled Economics of Labor Saving Farms, Evolutionary Mechanization. Okay, throughout the world, we know that smallholder farms having less than 2 hectares land produces almost one third of the world's food just on one fourth of the world's land. These smallholder farms are mostly concentrated on Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Latin America. Bangladesh, our country, is well known as smallholder farms, having average farm size of 0.54 hectare. The smallholder farms of Bangladesh actually confronting a few on-farm productivity constraints like mechanization loop, whether to adopt small two-wheel type machines or four-wheel type machines. Apart from this, our agriculture also facing productivity constraints related to land fragmentation, labor scarcity, credit constraints for farmers, and climate related shocks in different agricultural season. Another concern for Bangladesh is the percentage employment in agriculture, which is a decline over time. If we look at the world statistics, that our agricultural employment declining over time very dramatically, we just position just after Japan. So this is a concern for our agriculture as well. Uh, Linking with these on-farm productivity constraints, the supply stakeholders, government has a vision to facilitate efficient, profitable, and commercial agriculture through increased mechanization in Bangladesh arable farming, which is already pointed out in the National Agricultural Mechanization Policy. Worth mentioning here, Bangladesh National Agricultural Mechanization Implementation Plan come up with some visions that we have some evolutionary mechanization plans for our country. Just for example, if we look at the evolutionary mechanization initiative of our country, that Bangladesh plan increased mechanization, for example, mechanization in planting, sowing, and fertilizer application. By 2030, the country want to achieve, for instance, 30% mechanized planting, 25% sowing and fertilizer application. Even this vision also prevails for harvesting operations and precision agriculture. But the question is, let's see the numbers here, that by 2030, we are planning for increased mechanization in harvesting, for maize harvesting and other crop harvesting. It's 50 and 10% for maize. And when it comes to precision agriculture, it 10% for precision agriculture by 2030. And by 2040, the country is planning 50% precision agriculture. But the question is whether the country is working ahead of time or behind. That is the concern here, that with our existing on-farm productivity constraints, whether we are working ahead or we are still lagging behind. To navigate the National Agricultural Mechanization Plan and Implementation Plan, this study envisages to assess the profitability of evolutionary mechanization. I'm pointing out evolutionary mechanization because our mechanization is thriving from one operations to another operations, not simultaneously mechanizing or step change mechanization. We are not following. We are going one by one. So, considering these, this study hypothesized that small retrofitted autonomous machines, that is the existing machine, just adding some gadgets with the existing machine for making it autonomous, would be the medium to long-term solutions for Bangladesh that would promote adaptation of innovative technology in our farming context. To assess the hypothesis, we modeled actually three farms types, that is a small 1 hectare farm, available in Bangladesh, and medium 3 hectare farm and larger 4 hectare farms here. Worth mentioning here, we actually model the major and minor crop. The major crop encompasses rice, wheat, and maize, and the minor crops, rice, wheat, minor crop is maize, mustard, and lentil. We adopted the hands-free hectare profit maximizing optimization model, which is originally based on the Purdue crop livestock model and widely used throughout the world. As part of assessment, we considered the context of Rajshahi division, considering the agronomic significance of the country, and the production year 2022 and 23 is considered for modeling, considering the updated data set available nationally. And these data set mainly come up with a regional level estimation based on the nationally representative data sets, and the machinery data and others data are equipment related data are collected from different importers and the manufacturers website. These related to the technical data like the machine width and others we considered in modeling as well. Actually, instead of going for one size fits all mechanization, we try to evaluate the mechanization scenarios in disaggregated level. We modeled 5 mechanization scenarios. The first mechanization scenarios we modeled actually the typical mechanization available in Bangladesh, that is only tillage is mechanized and keeping all other operations manual, which is the typical mechanization Bangladesh experienced for a long time. And the second scenario, we try to assess what would be the economics if we consider tillage and harvesting as mechanized and keeping all other operations manual. The third scenario, we considered what would be the economics if we think about mechanization for tillage, planting, and harvesting operations, keeping other operations manual. Just to mention here, these 3 mechanization scenarios Bangladesh experienced to date. We also evaluated 2 more mechanization scenarios. As I mentioned earlier, that Bangladesh have some vision to promote whole farm mechanization to precision agriculture. So the fourth scenario, we considered what would be the economics if we consider whole farm mechanization with human drivers. That is known as conventional mechanization. That is, drivers will be there and operate the machines, and the whole farm will be operated with
Dr. Abdullah, you are not audible.
These are the scenarios we try to model here, that under these 5 scenarios, what would be the economics for grain oilseed farm of Bangladesh. We also modeled the same scenarios for larger four-wheel machines. In the right side, we are seeing that an autonomous machines operating from tilling to harvesting operations. These experiences based on the hands-free hectare in the UK. Actually, part of my PhD work actually based on this economic assessment. I evaluated what would be the economics of considering these autonomous machines compared to the conventional machines with human driver. But the question is, these precision agriculture or autonomous machines, precision agriculture is a farm management technique. We know that. Technologies come here as a facilitator. So these autonomous machines are not in hypothesis, it's a reality. And the technology are very matured, it just plug and play. So the question is whether Bangladesh, for Bangladesh, is it very optimistic or we are far away? The idea is that we are just close to precision because we have the machines. We all are in the same train, but in different compartment. When it comes to mechanization, when it comes to advanced technology, it's nothing from another planet. It's on the same train I mentioned here. We are in the different platform. Just we have to come up with the same compartment. That is mechatronic people, agronomy people, environmentalist, economist, agronomist. We have to work together to make it feasible for Bangladesh. So our existing machine with very low cost transportation with Asian type Wi-Fi sensors, we could retrofit these machines. The initial baseline modeling results found that considering the 2022 to 23 production year, considering the per day wage rate of 473 taka, we found that whole farm mechanization with human drivers, that is the conventional machines, will operate the whole farm, which found more profitable, followed by autonomous machines. But the existing mechanization which we are trying to promote, that is tillage, mechanized tillage and others manual, tillage and harvesting mechanized others manual, we still trying to evolve towards planting mechanized, that is tillage, planting and harvesting mechanized, keeping other manual. So the existing three scenarios we are trying on our field indicates that we are losing money from our pocket. So these models are based on the farmer owned machines, because when it comes to machinery market, the initial and the fundamental step of the mechanization is the farmer own the machines, then he or she could extend custom hire services, which is prevalent in our country, that we have owner operated custom hire service markets. But in our study, we considered what would be the economics if we consider owner operated machines, because the literature is not evident in our context. We started from the basics in our study. The same scenario happens for medium-sized farms, that is 3 hectare farms, that whole farm mechanization with human drivers, that is conventional machines, are more profitable, followed by autonomous machines. Then the existing mechanization, actually we are losing our money here. But the point is that when it comes to smallholder farms, that is 1 hectare farm, we found that added machinery cost challenged farm profitability. That is, small farms cannot bear the extra burden of owning a series of machines here. So indicating that when it comes to mechanization, Bangladesh need to think about some sort of sandwich type approach, that is of owner operated machines for medium and larger farms, and the small farms need custom hire services to operate profitably. Let's check the mechanization loop. The country has a very long mechanization history. Over the last 5 decades, we are trying to adopt machineries, but this mechanization history initiated since 1940s, before the birth of the country. So from the very beginning, we are following the repeated pattern that whether to adopt two-wheel machines or four-wheel machines. So we try to unveil the mechanization loop here. Considering the farmer-owned two-wheel machines and four-wheel machines mechanization, we found that two-wheel machines mechanization, that is small machines, are profitable options for Bangladesh as compared to larger machines, because farmer cannot afford such kind of giant and expensive machines for their small, medium, small and large farms. There may be frustration that we are seeing four-wheel machines in our field, but you are saying that we are losing money. The point is that there is still hope here. When it comes to owner-operated machines, so he or she may not make money, but if he or she extend her mechanization out of own farm operation, they could extend machinery service market, which is available in Bangladesh, that is farmer lead custom hiring services. So the hypothesis is that when farmer own four-wheel machines, they could extend the custom hire services to make farm profitably, or apart from farmer lead custom hiring services, some sort of agent based modeling, that is renting or other sort of business models may work better in our context. This needs some sort of evaluation considering our country context. Let me make a questions to ourselves. Is it possible in Bangladesh right now to hire a labor with 473 taka. So let me help you to answer these questions. Just consider the southern part of Bangladesh. If we want to hire a labor right now in a southern context, we have to pay 1,000 to 1,200 taka per day. If we look at the northwest Bangladesh, it's a bit less that still we have to pay 800 to 1,000 taka. So the question is, if we want to hire a labor per day, we have to pay 1,000 taka at least a day. But in our earlier model, we considered the 2022 data, and based on our national data set, we considered the OS rate. But checking with the reality, we did some sensitivity test. What would happen with the doubling OS rate? So the findings reveal that Bangladesh really need increasing mechanization instead of going somersaulting type walking. We need some step change in mechanization. That is, we need whole farm mechanization with human drivers. That is conventional mechanization. And the next low hanging fruit for Bangladesh is low cost autonomous machines. That is small low cost retrofitted machines. When if we want to stay on the existing machinery, that is three machines in a farm, the third scenario, here we are unable to operate our whole farm optimally. Few of our lands remain uncultivated. That's why see the profit of the farm, we are actually losing money. And in case of four wheel, when oil rate increases, it becomes negative here. The problem of Bangladesh is that there are some social and psychological issues that farm families are not interested to involve their next generation in agriculture. The concept of family farm available or discussed throughout the world, it's disappearing in Bangladesh because our educated youth, they are not interested to be a tractor driver. My students will not wanted to be a driver, rather they want to be a drone pilot. Even the uneducated youth, they are not interested in agriculture. If we see the labor market shift in Bangladesh, people want to prefer non-farm employment like garments, construction, and other modes of job instead of farming due to the very tiny nature of job. So that's why this study also did some sensitivity test. What would happen with the acute labor shortage? The earlier model we considered, we found that the conventional mechanization need at least 350 to 250 labor per month to operate the whole farm. So when what will happen if these labor become more constrained, we are unable to hire more labor. So we considered what would happen if we consider 50 labor available per month. We found that autonomous machines become more competitive than conventional machines. So the indication is that when labor become acute, so we need to think ahead. We need to think about the next step of mechanization, that is the precision mechanization system for countries like ours. In these acute labor shortage, see the farm profitability scenario here. We were unable to operate the whole farm optimally. That's why the margin, decreases substantially. In case of four-wheel machines, see the trends here. It's become, we have to compensate more here when we consider the four-wheel machines for this acute labor shortage. Let's discuss about the more burning topics that when it comes to agriculture we always try to say subsidy, or we always try to promote subsidy. Yes, I do agree, countries like us, we do need subsidy, but to what extent we need subsidy, to what mode we need subsidy, it remains unanswered. The earlier model we modeled here, right now the subsidy is not available for machineries. So that's why we try to check what will happen if we consider 50% subsidy. We actually compared without and with subsidy scenarios. See the findings here for two-wheel machines and four-wheel machines. Subsidy only changes profit margin, not didn't change the whole ecosystems. Even for four-wheel machines, when subsidy comes here, these one and scenario two becomes profitable and others remain unprofitable. So the indication is that subsidy needs some sort of strategic or devising change, that to what way we could optimize our subsidy, how we could optimize our benefit when we are giving subsidy here. We need to think here when we promote subsidy. Apart from these, our another research focuses on environmental aspects of farming. That is, whether increasing mechanization may help the agroecological type farming or regenerative type farming. Uh, we know that in Bangladesh, we all know rice fields. So when it comes to rice fields, we know that the rice fields are inundated with water. We always have water logging condition in rice fields, and our lands have to be tilled 3 to 4 times to make it friendly to germinate. So this is the paddle system we are seeing in our rice fields. But now, dry direct seeded systems are proposed to limit the environmental footprint. That is, instead of doing continuous delays, making water logging, we could directly seed this rice to the field and save and limit the environmental footprint. So we considered what would be the comparative economics if we consider dry direct seeded system and paddle system. We found that the dry direct seeded system is more profitable than the existing paddle system. When it comes to mechanized farm management scenarios, increasing mechanization actually increase the farm profitability. For both cases, a dry direct seeded system are more profitable than other alternatives. We checked this for a different farm size like others, that larger 4 hectare farm, medium farm, and even for small farms as well. Our questions actually try to guide national agricultural mechanization policy and the national agricultural mechanization implementation plan with some sort of evidence-based guideline for selecting appropriate mechanization for Bangladesh. But still, there are some research which needs to consider to come up with very conclusive answers for our mechanization policy and others. Just have a look at the left side, that me and my colleagues is struggling to work on the field. I'm struggling to keep my notes on hand. So see my struggle here. So these are the field to farmstead routes we have in our agriculture. In see here, just after harvesting, the transportation is the second most labor intensive operations in Bangladesh. So when we talk with mechanization, it's not just about operation specific or single machines, it's a package. So to optimize the benefit of mechanization, we need to consider farm to field state transportation as mechanized as well, because this is the second most labor intensive operation. So when we talk about mechanization, we should start from tillage and have to think about farmstead as well. So Bangladesh has enough to gain when the mechanization extends to field to farmstead transportation. I know there is challenge because these routes and others issues are not the part of the Ministry of Agriculture. Local LGD is involved here, but we have scope to think about interministerial issues when we plan for policies and try to guide our policies. Future research could consider field size and shape issue. Our research didn't consider field size and shape issues, but our study, considering the UK context, we considered what would be the implications for field size and shape, considering the context of the UK. So when we talk about Bangladesh, when we talk about mechanization, we have very uneven, irregular shape fields. So future research could address this field size and shape heterogeneity. We have a rectangular size field, triangular size field, trapezoid size field. So this could be addressed within this modeling framework, which what we are thinking here, or what we modeled here. Even we talk about different types of machines. For power tiller, we have range of power tiller. For combine, we have range of combines. For instance, combine in Bangladesh, we have 10 horsepower to 120 horsepower combine. So we need to answer that which combine would be the appropriate scale combine for Bangladesh. So with very disaggregated analysis with different power machines, we could come up with conclusions that what would be the right machines for Bangladesh. The most discussed topics in Bangladesh in case of mechanization is land consolidation. Even the expert promote land consolidation for Bangladesh to facilitate mechanization. Yes, I agree because the rule of thumb of mechanization is get big or get out. So our expert and we also actually promote the typical rule of thumb of mechanization. But the question is, did we check the school of thoughts of consolidation? That is the old literature of consolidation. They are promoting the rule of thumb of mechanization. But the present school of thought of consolidation, they are promoting small fields are beautiful, small fields are efficient. That is the existing rule of thumb. That is get big and get out is no longer exist when to cultivate rice in my fields, but my wife may not in the same opinion that she may want to cultivate some flowers in the field. My brother may want to cultivate some maize in the field. So we are struggling within our family how neighbors could come together to make this land consolidated. And we have experience with cooperatives earlier as well. So when we talk about consolidation, we are talking about a very serious issue. We need to consider social issue. We need to consider environmental issues. You need to consider economic issues as well. So it needs total rural structural change. So we need some evidence-based guidelines to think about to what extent our land should be consolidated. Again, there is still room to think about the economies of size and scales with different series of machines we have in Bangladesh. We talk about farmer owned machinery, and most of our machinery are custom hire and rented. So we didn't check what would be the comparative economics of different business models. The expert in Bangladesh promoted single shed services, and some sort of agent based custom hiring services is available in Bangladesh. But the concern is whether these services would be going through monopolistic or oligopolistic approach. We need some evidence to propose some sort of comparative machinery markets or business models. With some empirical evidence, we could better guide that what would be the short, medium, and long-term approach for Bangladesh to think about different machinery market. The hypothesis is that Bangladesh need actually sandwich type market, but we need to investigate these issues. In national agricultural policy and national agricultural mechanization implementation plan, always Bangladesh made that is home industries are entertained and promoted. So Bangladesh have scope to think about Bangladesh type model instead of concentrated more on imported machines. What we are doing now, for instance, Hello Tractor in Africa could be a good example for Bangladesh. Even India have some sort of services. Give services to their neighbors during the COVID peak COVID period. At that time, no one gave concentration to them, so they were struggling to make the business by themselves. But right now, John Ree, the technology giant, who actually dominate the large and medium scale agriculture, they collaborate with John Ree, and they are working together to help smallholder agriculture. So see the small initiative make a big paradigm shift in agricultural settings. So Bangladesh could think about just to note here, when we talk about machines, we always think or we have some sort of visualization in our own mind that these are giant machines, all about steering, wheels, something like that. But believe me, when we talk about mechanization, we are not just dealing with machines. We are dealing with social issues. We are dealing with business. We are dealing with economics. We are dealing with investment. So it's a whole ecosystem we are talking about. This is a package we need to think here when it very precise data to guide our policy with evidence-based suggestions. Just have a look that Bangladesh statistics for machinery uses. These are the compilations of different sources. So we really need some good sort of data to come up with farm level, regional level, and national level estimates of production economics and farm management, which have implications for national accounting. We have to remember that agriculture is the next low-hanging industry for Bangladesh. So here, when we talk about machines, agriculture, we need to think about that it should be smart enough. It should have piles of data that could come up with a very effective decision making. Just before going home, let's give some take-home messages to keep in mind. I know that throughout the long discussion, all of you are interested to know. Just answer me whether we will adopt two-wheel machines or four-wheel machines. I'm sorry here. The question is not. The answer is not binary. We as you know by this time that we have very piles of power tillers, piles of machines, combine harvestors. So when we have to come up with conclusions, we need to check the economics of all these machineries to reach in a very conclusive answers. But this study gives the basic ideas. If we consider typical machine, that is 60 horsepower power tiller is typical, 70 horsepower combine is typical. So based on the available literature, we just consider the typical machines used in Bangladesh settings, mainly the Rajshahi division settings, and we try to come up with some conclusions. From our evidence, it indicates that whole farm conventional mechanization with human drivers should be the short-term solutions for Bangladesh, and for medium to long-term, Bangladesh need to think ahead about whole farm conventional mechanization and autonomous farming. Here, field to farmstead should be considered because there is enough chance to gain more when we talk about field to farmstead transportation. Uh, See our targets I showed you earlier in the National Agricultural Mechanization Plan, that we are thinking about 30%, 25. When it precisions, we consider 10% for precision operations. But we have to remember that the world is changing very rapidly, and the technology is changing very fast. Autonomous machines and the precision technologies are in mature stage. They are just plug and play. So we need some sort of step change instead of going through very slowly with mechanization. Even one machines may not be the sustainable approach. So we need to update ourselves with the changing machines, come up with some customized Bangladesh type machines, not the newly innovated machines, which may be more expensive for Bangladesh. This labor saving technology, what we are proposing here, could bring some paradigm shift in agriculture because, as I mentioned earlier, the educated youth may be interested in Uber type business model, may be interested in drone services and others. So that may have chance to bring a total rural invigoration in case of Bangladesh. In case of subsidy, machine and operation specific subsidy, Bangladesh needs revisions here because the subsidy could be considered with promoting startup, youth entry policy type subsidy that just to change the overall ecosystem, not to promote one or two single machines, because these one or two single machines may not bring total system change and may not help agriculture to be the next low-hanging industry. When it comes to machine, I mentioned earlier, it's not about just replacing labor and substitution, capital labor substitution. There is a myth in smallholder settings in Asia, Africa, and sub-Saharan Africa and Latin America that machines people may lose job. But there is piles of literature that this is a myth. Even in African context, you will get literature that this is a myth because mechanization do help in labor market shift because skill-based labor market is created here. So mechanization is not all about machines. It's a system change. We have to keep this in mind. Finally, I would like to extend my gratitude to my funders and please visit our lab which is HSET, stands for Hub for Smallholders Agri-Tech Economics. You will get updated works here. All works and details are updated in our website. Please feel free to raise questions. Thank you for your patience sharing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alamin. That was a very interesting and nice presentation, because we have found a lot of results from your presentation, and we have seen that you did a lot of simulations and try to show that which scenarios would be best for our future agriculture. And at this time, I would I would invite Professor and Dr. Nahid Sattar, discussant of our today's webinar. Sir, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jahid. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jahid, and thank you to Rapid for inviting me to this webinar, where Dr. Alamin just presented on the economics of smallholder farms, evolutionary mechanization. I think that's a very important topic to discuss right now in the context of agricultural development in Bangladesh, and I think agricultural mechanization is at the forefront of the overall discussion on how we move our agriculture forward to ensure food security and nutrition security. So I think that's given the context of our crisis in land, our recent shortage of labor, and everything that's going on, I think that's a very important topic to discuss. So thank you to Rapid for having this conversation right now. So now to discuss on the excellent presentation that Dr. Alamin made, the presentation he made and the research they have been working on. Dr. Alamin is a very passionate and a dedicated researcher, so they have done a very extensive work on the topic they have done. So I'd first like to appreciate this type of research by mentioning something that was mentioned in the presentation, that nationally we have set mechanization targets for 2025, 2030, 2041. I think that's in the National Mechanization Policy. For example, the fertilizer application, the extent of mechanization in fertilizer application is targeted at 75% in 2041, which is around 1% right now. So it seems that those sort of targets are more sort of a wish list. It's sort of like where we want to go, and it's not really evidence based. It's not really based on any trajectory or any scientific or any evidence. So I think this type of research is a contribution to academia in that sense, contribution to policy, that we could get more of evidence-based outcomes of what's actually going on in the field and which direction we may take. So I think that this is a rigorous research towards understanding the pathway towards agricultural mechanization in Bangladesh. So, of course, I would not have the time to go through every details of the presentation, but I just want to focus initially on the take-home messages that Dr. Alamin left us with, like the conclusions that these studies that ended with. So, like the presentation that ended with, for example, the point that the appropriate mechanization, the path toward appropriate mechanization might not be binary, whether we're promoting two-wheel or four-wheel machines. Of course, in this research, they have shown extensively the importance or the superiority of two-wheel or machines. But of course, there might be context. For example, they have mostly considered the owner-operated machine. So if they can factor in the custom hire system, so I mean, of course, the context can be different, and in different contexts, we might have different pathways towards agricultural mechanization. And there was also a take-home message on like having the whole farm mechanization with human drivers as a short-term solution. I would agree with this message that comes out of this research, and this is also, I would say, sort of a conventional wisdom that we are seeing through evidence in this research, that we, of course, everyone in Bangladesh in the agricultural development sphere supports mechanization, and to what extent, to what mechanization is necessary, as they have this study was showing that the more the mechanized. Right now, according to this study, the automated like the systems might be still a bit less profitable than the human driver-led mechanization, but I think that's something that most people would agree with. Now, the next point they made is about the medium to long-term solution, that the whole farm conventional mechanization and autonomy with mechanized field to farm state, that might be a solution. I mean, here I would say that that might be something that is interesting to see, but I have my observations in drawing long-term conclusions from this study, and that's more to do with the methods of this study. And I think I'll come back to that later, that where my reservation in understanding the long-term dynamics comes from. So, of course, the study mentions that like we need to be more optimistic. Technologies are changing very rapidly. So even if the technologies are changing rapidly, why certain technologies have been adopted in Bangladesh, for example, in irrigation, in terms of tillage, power tillers have been more widely adopted compared to certain technologies which have not been adopted. That might be more to do with the markets of these machines. We need to look at both the supply side and the demand side, and what's going on in this area. So of course we would want to be optimistic. We would want to grow mechanization, but how that might happen, of course, that would go beyond understanding the optimization behavior that we might see with these models. So the study also made a point about machine and operation specific subsidy that needs revision. I would agree with that. I would come back to this point again later, that how I would see supporting mechanization needs to go forward. And also another point was made in terms of mechanization is not just a capital or labor substitution, but it's a systems change. I would totally agree with this statement. It's like when we are thinking about mechanization these days, we're thinking about production. We're also considering harvesting, but as Dr. Alamin mentioned in the presentation, the transportation is also an area where we need extensive labor. So that might also be a part of it. And also mechanization is not just about having the machine. It's about having the drivers to drive the machine. It's about the supporting the forward and backward linkage industries, the repair and maintenance, industry, all those things. So of course it needs a bigger systemic change in how we go about how we might achieve mechanization in the long run. Now, if I'd like to focus on a few areas where this study could have either maybe gone further or maybe elaborated or maybe elaborated a bit more to make us understand a bit more, a few points. For example, the study uses the linear programming technique in showing us the optimizing behavior, like in what sort of which combinations, which scenarios would give us more better economic outcomes, which is good. But here the problem is we didn't see the parameters that were like the values of the parameters that were used, the different prices, the wages, the labor uses, and the fertilizer uses data. Of course I understand that when they say like opt for a publication, it will be there. But I understand that these values, the results would be susceptible to it will be sensitive to certain parameters. For example, wages in this context. I think the whole study is would be very sensitive to the wage rate in this study. So if for a different wage rate, they will have a different outcome. I think there was one scenario analysis of a higher wage rate, what would be the outcome. But I would like to see more of sensitivity analysis based on these parameters, since the linear programming technique that's used here is more of a deterministic approach. So whether either to have a more of a probabilistic linear programming, or to have use a different range for these parameters and to run scenarios on different ranges to see how the outcome changes, whether it's different farm management techniques or whether it's the 4-wheel machine or 2-wheel machine. So I think that could show something very interesting. The other observation I have about this study is that this is again typical to this type of linear programming analysis. This is more of a snapshot of a point in time. So this is good for a short-term analysis, but it is, for me, it is difficult to generalize this over the long term, because over a long term there might be more non-linear feedbacks within the system. So the growth of one industry or one subsector might promote or hinder something else. The increase of wage might, if the wage is going too high, too far, then it might even drive some people in the labor market. So there are non-linear feedbacks within the system. So again, I think for a long-term understanding of that, I think of the trends, I think it is good if we can consider those aspects as well. One other point I would want to make about is how they group the farms according to farm size. For example, I think it's 1 hectare or less, between 1 to 3 hectares, and more than 4 hectares farms. So the problem with that is, I think according to the agricultural census of 2019, I think in Bangladesh about 91% of the farms are less than 1 hectare. So I think the bulk of the farms fall in one category. So rather than following that, I think that's a standard classification they use. That's okay. But for a practical purpose, for me, it would have been more better to understand the scenario if that group could have been disaggregated. If we had rather had a proportionate distribution of the farms based on their distribution in the economy, I think that would have been for me to understand understand the different farm sizes, rather than having one group which is a very large share of the entire of the farms in the entire country. And also, I think Dr. Alamin mentioned this himself towards the end of his presentation. So even if we are considering smaller farm sizes, the plot sizes of our farmers are even smaller. So I think it is great if they find if they can use the same framework to understand if there is any consequences of the plot sizes on the outcome variables that they have, because that's one of the key arguments against mechanization, against not against implementing mechanization, but one of the concerns of why mechanization or large machines might not succeed in Bangladesh is the smaller plot size. So if they can go into that sphere, that would be useful. And another thing I would like to mention is that I think the data they have aggregated at the regional level is on the Rajshahi division, I guess, the Rajshahi area. So which is a geographical boundary, that's fine. But I would like to prefer if they could have a profile of wage rate of different different parts of the country, and base the modeling they're doing on clusters of wages. So for example, if similar place with similar wage rate might have one outcome on the impact of mechanization on the profits, on the returns, and a different place with a different wage rate might have a different outcome. So I think they can play around with the data they have to sort of come up with different results. I think I have one question for Dr. Alamin, is that he has clearly showed that in his research in several areas that the owner-operated two-wheel the machines was more competitive than four-wheels machines for the in several examples. So why is that the case? Why does he think from his research that that is the case? Is it because of the purchase price of the four-wheels machines, or what's going on actually there? So if he has any insights on that. And also he mentioned about the in terms of further research scope, that like adding the rental market would add a complete different dimension, and for us to understand that what might be the scenario. We know that the custom hearing service, hiring service in power tiller, for example, that's a very important part of the mechanization in Bangladesh. So what to add that in the discussion would really add value to this research. So I think I basically want to wrap up. What I want to say is that I think this is a very important study that shows evidence-based outcomes on what types of machinery, what types of mechanization might lead to what type of outcome, two-wheel versus four-wheel, or to the extent of mechanization, which is good, which is, I think, for me, if I think of mechanization, the market of mechanization, that is an important part of the supply side. So how would we use this information? Like if we know that if we have more of the whole farm mechanization, then that's more profitable. So that is useful information for policymakers, so that for them to push forward with mechanization per se. That's also useful probably for the machine suppliers, the machine, whether they are importers or they produce machines. So that's a crucial information for them. But I think we also need to understand the demand side of machinery. So like what are the farmers thinking about it? What are the constraints? For example, we might have a perfect optimization model, but the farmer's objective function might be very different from what we have. So I think if we want to move forward with mechanization, we would need a more comprehensive understanding of the demand side and the other issues in the supply side, whether, for example, to what extent the custom hiring services are feasible or not, to what extent we have repairing service, to what extent we have operators, and so on. So need to go deeper into these issues as well. But again, this, as I said, I think this study is important because I was mentioning that there was a point about whether we can use subsidy or other means to promote mechanizations. In this country, we have seen success of different mechanization, different types of mechanization in different ways. For example, the widespread of mechanization in irrigation, that was not really dependent on any subsidy. That when we initially we had restrictions, when we removed import restrictions and we liberalized the market for irrigation pumps, we saw a spread of those irrigation pumps across Bangladesh because there was a demand for that. In terms of power tiller also, there was a liberalization and there was some contribution of subsidies. But then when we had subsidies on combine harvesters in this country, or large tractors, that didn't spread as much as probably many would have liked. So even having subsidy did not push those market as much as we have liked. So that's why I think we need a more targeted approach. We need a deeper understanding in what type of support we might need. It might be, in some cases, we might need subsidy. In my case, it might be some imperfections in the market, some market failure that exists that we need to solve to promote agricultural mechanization. I think that's all I had for now. I think I'd like to stop here and maybe we could go to the audience.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a nice and detailed discussion. I would say a microscopic discussion. So we have pros and cons of these studies from your side, and you put a lot of things which are actually not covered by this study and which are very important to look into those things. I would say this is a really nice discussion from your side, and this would be so helpful for the presenter also. So right now, I want to go to the audience to take some questions, although we are running out of time. So to the audience, if you want to ask any questions, just raise your hand and ask your questions. can also just unmute and put your questions. Also, you can throw your questions by chat box. Right. In the meantime, I can just put some of my thoughts that uh, the topic today the presenter discussed is really important for our future of Bangladesh because uh, from the rapid side, we study regarding the smooth transition strategy for the LDC graduation, and we have seen and we put agricultural diversification as a great opportunity for in coming years. And that's why I would say the precision agriculture or the smart agriculture plays important role here. But importantly, the presenter highlight different important things like he said about the systematic change, system change. So, of course, the institution who worked under this planning or policy purpose things, I would say this is very important for the mechanization side because as Professor Dr. Um, Alamin and also our discussant say that we have seen different models in our country regarding mechanization. Some are successful and some also are not successful, like the combined harvester and other projects from the government side. And there are different, lot of news has actually came that the institution, they actually failed to manage the whole project because of the corruption and the other things also. So that is one side. And also, if we talk about the mechanization and precision agriculture, the presenter also highlight one important thing is it depends on our local knowledge. So actually uh, how should we utilize our basic strength? It will depend on our locally raised workshops because they actually know that what kind of small machineries or what kind of small things are would be best for the Bangladesh local scenario. So I think from the policy aspect or from the government aspect, that would be also a concerning thing to actually see about the local, I would say, inventors. So that's an important thing. And also, the presenter put some good questions regarding the customer hiring services. So I would say yes. Uh, right now, the young generations are not actually want to move towards agriculture that much, but I would say if this mechanization, this kind of things come as like as business, like you are investing uh, on these machineries to give facilities to the farmers, and they will actually buy the facilities because for me, actually, the definition of farmers right today in Bangladesh is actually changing because the farmers who have the land, we call those people as farmer. But the people who are actually cultivating in the field, those people don't have the land, and by definition, they are actually outside of the farmer, and that's why they are not getting facilities from the government side, which are actually provided by the government. So we have to actually cope up with the situation and cope up with the environment, cope up with the modernization, how society and how economics are going over the time. So I think this was a nice presentation. And if is there any questions from audience?
Jahid, am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Sorry, there is still load shedding going on in my area, and I apologize. I couldn't attend in time. But it's a very comprehensive presentation. by Dr. Alamin and a very rigorous comment by the discussion Professor uh, Nait Sattar. So thank you so much for presenting this paper. One thing I was just wondering is that so you are saying that for two-wheeler it's not profitable. It's profitable, but for four-wheeler it's not very profitable. But given that our land is limited, if you don't have enough, if not enough land created uh, in the Bay of Bengal, our land supply is limited, and since because more and more population are depending on agriculture, the further fragmentation of farm will happen. So, in your scenario, I think it would be more realistic if you can incorporate some of the scenarios that what happens if land consolidation is not possible and if farm fragmentation is becoming even more severe, then whether this type of mechanization is feasible or not in Bangladesh at all. And also, for mechanization, we need power. And right now, I can feel how important the power is. So Bangladesh is going through the crisis of power and energy. Even the industrialization is not uh, getting the enough energy and power, so that that sector is cannot create enough job. And as a Dr. Professor Naiswatar was saying that there are a lot of feedback that will feed into the agriculture sector. So I think this is a very nice exercise. But in case of Bangladesh, if you want to make it more realistic, this type of feedback from other sectors, from industry, from energy sector, and from the demand side factors as well. Also, we just can't think agriculture isolated from other countries. Our market is also depends on imported items, food items like rice and other type of food items. So what happens on demand side on prices? If we have modernization, the price might. Uh, so if you are food importing country, if there's deficit, so there is always the probability that you'll have higher prices in the local market. But if we achieve self-sufficiency, then obviously the price will be lower, the return per unit likely to be lower than what happens to the profitability to mechanization. So I think if we can incorporate some of these insights, and then this will be more comprehensive. But you can also use this insight from the discussant and from other commenter to write even another paper. So thank you so much, both the presenter and the discussion. And thank you, Jahid, for conducting this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And if we don't have any questions from the audience, I think no, okay. So I want to just go back to the presenter, Dr. Alamin, just for 2 minutes. I think
Right.
that would
My
be,
apology
yeah.
that actually my electricity gone, so I missed few section. I just listened Dr. Professor Din Islam sir's comments. So if there is, let me go with these comments till Professor Din Islam sir. If any other things remaining, you could just pass on me, then I could deliver. I could answer these questions. Okay? Can you hear me, Jahid?
Yes, 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 sure.
Should I go?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to thank Professor Nahid Satar sir for very detailed, explanations and some thought-provoking issues, which leads to further investigation and opens the windows for future research. But let me go one by one to give some ideas that we have to start somewhere and we have to finish somewhere. So the idea is that these projects we initiated just 1 years back. So we just have a very rigorous review that what is the literature gap for Bangladesh. So we just started from the very initial literature. We try to start from some very basics. So sir rightly mentioned about the Oy's rate sensitivity. Just to note here, we did the doubling Oy's rate, but sir rightly mentioned that considering several sensitivity may better picture the scenario. For UK context, we did the same. We checked doubling voice rate, tripling, even 4 times voice rate implications. But for Bangladesh, we consider doubling voice rate just to get an idea that what would be the changes. So with some sensitivity tests like tripling voice rate, we could better picture these issues. But considering the scope of the research, we try to stop here. Sir point out about the long-term implications. I really do agree with that issues. Just to note here, we have very strong confidence on linear programming what we are using, because I use this linear programming for UK and the same model used for USA. I use this for USA. Even my teens, my professor is working for 40 years on the issues and use these models for around 50 countries all over the world. The model, I didn't go in details, but we have the details initial report in our research guide to know the assumptions and the modeling scenarios. Just to point out here, instead of going through simple linear programming, we claim our model as a steady state. The term is steady state means the singular solutions can be replicated for multiple years. So if we want to address the long-term heterogeneity, the existing model could be replicated for several years. For instance, we want to capture in our modeling that we want to incorporate mango production. So it's need long-term estimation. So we could think about these time allocations here, because the metrics we formulated, it's the month specific metrics we did here. So we could easily address these long-term issues, but sir rightly mentioned out these issues here. In case of very disaggregate level analysis like plot size, different size of farms, different shapes of farm. In Bangladesh case, we didn't consider here, the research scope, but there is room. Actually, we do need to consider these issues because field size and shape, plot level implications is important. Linear programming has this room to estimate farm level, regional level, and national level estimation. So the model we are proposing is the farm level estimation. So we could extend these issues, but in case of precision agriculture, there are some cloud-based systems and others like FieldCAD. Within FieldCAD, just give you some thoughts. With remote sensing data, drone, we could get the images of the plots. With that images, we could fix the boundary. We could draw the field path of the machine. Then we could estimate the work rate of the machines. These estimation could be incorporated in the linear programming. So the level of heterogeneity you want in the programming, this programming has tools or mechanisms to add this, but we need data, we need some sort of funding to scale up such issues.
Dr.
So
Alamin, can we just make it a bit short due
yeah,
to
okay.
the time
Another questions
constraint?
actually, sir, raised about the why the two-wheel machines and four-wheel machines variation came here. Sir also mentioned about the fixed cost issues. Actually, these are related to the fixed cost like land rents and machinery cost. When it comes to large machines, it comes to, a larger payment investment of the machineries. Professor Dean Islam sir mentioned about a concern about the two-wheel machines and four-wheel machines. Sir, just to point out here, this is the owner-operated model. The idea is that farmer will own the model machine, then he will do the farming. So when it comes to mechanization, considering to the linking with the state of the art, if we consider UK context, US context, and other contexts, that is medium and large scale agricultural economies, the literature initiated with the owner operated model, then disaggregate to different types of business models and markets. So we started with the owner operated model, but you rightly point out the concern, because in Bangladesh we are seeing four-wheel machines running simultaneously, but these are not linear to the two-wheel machines. So the idea is that if farmer own the machines, then these two-wheel machines is more profitable, competitive than the four-wheel machines. But if these models extend to custom hire services, for instance, I'm modeling 5 hectare farm. Let an example that 2 hectare is farmer owned and 3 hectare is his service providing. Then we could picture out, even for 20 hectares, 5 hectares is own land, 15 hectares is other land he gave services. So we have the room to address such kind of heterogeneity and extend the model to different custom hiring and agent based modeling. So I really appreciate the concern raised here. Just I want to give you the belief that uh, uh, we could model the scenarios, we could guide our policymakers with the evidence-based guidelines, but it's not one person jobs. Let's work together, let's collaborate, let's make some positive changes, let's create some evidence, help the nations to ensure food self-sufficiency. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
If any
Thank you so
questions,
much,
please reach
Dr.
me
Ahmed.
personally. I will be happy to share with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Alamin. And to put the impact, we rapidly put our efforts in policy and different research studies. And hopefully we'll cooperate in our future different studies also. And at the end of the webinar, I would thank all the audience, and I would especially thank our honorable discussion professor, Dr. Nahid Sattar sir. And I also thank our presenter, Dr. A.K.M. Abdullah Alamin. And we are ending our webinar here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.